This guy cracked a stupid joke. And now that joke was about to be the death of 176 people. But he had no idea. Not even at all. So imagine that you're Rodriguez and you're an Air Force fighter jet pilot. You were dressed up in all that fancy technical suit with helmet and visor, tubes and buttons, the whole kit and caboodle. And you are in your cockpit now, whizzing through the air at 33,000 feet above the earth because just a few minutes ago, you got a red alert ordering you into the skies because there is an impending terror threat to your country, Spain, and you are to eliminate it by all means possible. You'd practiced this drill before, but this time it is real. Your machine is the impressive F-18 and its armory is full of the deadly Sidewinder missiles. Your colleague Diego is only a few hundred yards to your left and you are both flying information. The target is unfortunately a commercial passenger plane, an EasyJet flight carrying 176 people traveling from Gatwick to Menorca, and it is now in sight. Now, there is a very high possibility that you will be ordered to shoot down this jet, and you are going to have to unfortunately witness the mid-air incineration of all those almost 200 people. Now, this is for real, no kidding. This actually happened in 2022. Inside the commercial plane, look at this guy, Charles. He was sitting looking out of the window when suddenly he saw this sight, and he was like, what the gibberish? Those intimidating war machines eased up to the sides of his plane and quietly maintained a steady speed there. But what he did not know was that a short while ago, a terrorist had taken to social media while they were still back at Gatwick Airport, and the terrorist had announced, I am a member of the Taliban and I am going to kaboom the plane. And that plane that he was talking about was the very plane that Charles was sitting in and staring out of. But he didn't know that. Yet, he started to fret a little because maybe he'd watched too many movies, but in all the scenarios that he could conjure up in his mind, two F-18 fighter jets winging you on both sides in a commercial plane means that there is a clear and present danger somewhere, somehow following you around in the skies. Except you are the president of a great nation, in which case, maybe they're just there to protect you. But he wasn't kidding himself, so he was petrified. But this whole story, it's not even about him. It's about the guy that was sitting right behind him. This guy, ADITYA Verma. So, ADITYA was fascinated by the sight of those same terrific war machines, but quite unlike Charles, he didn't think anything of them. They had to be on some kind of a training mission, he thought. After all, the Ukrainian war was happening, and Ukraine is not too terribly far away from England or from Spain. They are all in Europe. So he just continued munching on those peanuts and looking out of the window. And then the captain got on the intercom and explained that the jets had been scrambled because a distress signal had been sent out by mistake. Oh, that explains it, thought Verma. But the planes didn't go away. Still, he felt relieved. But for him, his troubles were just starting. Only that he had no idea. You see, because he is brown in complexion, being of Indian descent, though a British citizen living in England, he often got teased because of his looks. Some of his friends had actually said that he looked a bit like Osama bin Laden, and rather than fight off the nicknames placed on him, which would definitely have guaranteed them sticking, he decided to lean into those jokes just to be light-hearted about them. So earlier, while they were still at the airport in Gatwick, as he was approaching the gates, he sent out a joke to his friends on a private group chat, and it read, I am a member of the Taliban, and I am going to kaboom the plane. I don't know if I got the accent right, I'm sure I didn't. There was no incident then. But after his plane had taken off, the message was somehow intercepted at Gatwick. Menorca in Spain, which was the destination of the flight, was quickly notified, And that initiated the events that now led to the two F-18s flying on both sides of this commercial EasyJet plane with hot and ready payloads that could possibly be used to bring it down if it ever came to it. ADITYA, who still did not know what was going on, thought that it was a joke. Sending the message that is, it was all a joke shared with his personal friends. But the pilots of the F-18s and their bosses who directed them, both in Gatwick and in Spain, they didn't know that. To them, there was an active terror threat aboard that passenger plane, and when that happens, a scenario in which the whole plane is shot down from the skies is always a possibility. Another 9/11 cannot be allowed to happen. Still, they followed the passenger plane until Menorca, warning it not to deviate in any ways whatsoever from all the instructions that they were giving it. At Menorca, they forced it to land at their directions. And of course, it was surrounded by security forces and isolated immediately. And then a special crew of experts stormed the plane and began to comb through it thoroughly. Still, ADITYA suspected nothing, and he was thunderstruck when he suddenly found himself at the center of several inwards-pointing assault rifles. He was arrested by fully kitted up SWAT agents. Only then did he say, "Oh boy, I think I figged up." It took a little longer for him to fully realize the magnitude of the cost of his jokes. To think that all 176 people could have lost their lives because of it was unfathomable. Well, the good news is that he was later released when it became clear that he was no terrorist, just a young silly jester who took his craft a little too far. Still, many people were angry, and he was charged to court because there was a cost of about $150,000 for scrambling the jet. But of course, and maybe another $30,000 in fines for other inconveniences. Yes, he wasn't going to go to jail, but he was going to be in a big hole for it, almost about $200,000 worth. And so the trial began. The whole world wanted to see how this one was going to play out, but very luckily for him, he won the case because he sent a message to a strictly private group on Snapchat that only his friends should have had access to. And as a result, it could be argued that there was no reasonable expectation that those jokes will ever be seen by any other persons or entities other than his friends. But they did get seen. So the question is, how? How? I'll say your guess is maybe about as good as mine. So, that's it, friends. Always remember that life is not fair. No! But there is always a lesson to be learned. Here, I'll say, never ever assume that you have any serious level of privacy when you use your social media. For good or for bad, we are all being listened to and monitored. And clearly, every message that you send out there is surely being seen by more eyes than those you intend them for. End-to-end encryption? Don't believe it. So, be careful and don't crack stupid jokes. Alright, so if you find any other good learnable lessons in there, please share them with us in the comment section. We can all use it. So take care, guys, and subscribe.